Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Three Men in Football. All right lads?
All right, Thomas, Simon, how are we?
Hi boys, how are we doing?
Yeah, all good. Having a good week so far?
Weather's been absolutely amazing, hasn't it? So really happy, sun shining, great week.
Good for you two, and Darren in his golden tan, not great for me.
Hey, to be fair, mate, I'm just glad that you're indoors.
Mate, I'm either indoors or under an umbrella or under some sort of canopy. I probably should just carry one around with me.
I can see you with a hat with an umbrella thing on, you know, like just to give you a bit of shade.
Hey, a little story for you. Went on our honeymoon to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, and one of Carl's favourite memories of the honeymoon in the Maldives is not anything that was good. It was me walking around with an umbrella to keep the sun off me. It was that hot.
Brilliant.
It was absolutely ridiculous. Having an umbrella because it was that hot. I got burned. In Sri Lanka, I got burned when it was overcast.
Hey, all these name droppers, I've seen them in real with an umbrella.
It was actually real where I was, that's. All right, so we're coming out of lockdown.
Yes.
I think if I remember rightly, it's Monday where the next phase is, and I think the rules. I mean, interpret them as you will, but I think it's you can meet up to 5 people in the park at any one time, and you can spend a bit more time in your garden with other people.
And I think you can travel 240 miles for a night test. So there's a couple of things there which are a little bit black and white, you know.
So if I wanted to, could I get all the lads together for a training session and have you in groups of 5? And I can walk over and say, you 5 on that side of the pitch, do this. And you 5 on that side of the pitch, do this. Would that count?
Well, I don't see why not, because if you think about the professional game, that's what's happening now, isn't it? They're doing contact training, but they're probably doing it in small groups. So, I mean, I don't see why it would be any different for them. And then I heard something yesterday as well, that football is going back, but rugby is not.
Yeah, rugby isn't going back, and it's a contact sport. But apparently, football isn't as a contact sport as rugby.
Yeah, it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. To be fair, Thomas, just on that, we've not trained for maybe 5 to 10 years, so why start now?
I was just thinking of, just getting the lads together, really.
But a kickabout so we can stand around and pretend like we're warming up.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, so
can you imagine me trying to tell you to run round?
Not going to happen, mate. Speaking about warming up, me and Daz did a little blog each this week and posted them on our new look website, which you can find at www.threemeninfootball.com. And mine was on Saturday afternoon or Saturday all day for an amateur footballer. Daz, what was yours on?
Mine was called When Saturday Comes, and it was a similar theme, but from a completely different viewpoint, really. Because, we've been playing together now for, 20 years, maybe? Yeah. 2 of them have been quite good years. And we're both different personalities in the change room and around the team, and it was just a different perspective. I enjoyed it.
I think that comes across really well, and we're trying to encourage Thomas to write his first blog, but the process is somewhat difficult, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it is, because I don't like writing, and I just really don't like doing it. So I'm thinking,
yeah, you got no choice.
What I might do is I might tell Rachel what I want to put down, and then see whether she can transfer my mumbled English into some kind of blog.
Imagine what she'll put down on paper. It'll be totally different.
Is Rachel your PA? Because I haven't got a PA.
No.
I wouldn't
Rachel's
answer that, mate. Be very careful how you answer that one. I know she doesn't listen to any of these podcasts, so it doesn't really matter. But she may be in the background somewhere.
Well, she has said she's going to start that, and she's going to start giving us some constructive feedback, she said.
Oh, brilliant.
It's been lovely working with you 3. Sorry, we're 3. Yeah, you 2.
All right, so speaking of feedback, we've taken feedback from everyone, and we've decided to change it up a little bit for this Friday release of the podcast. And it will be much more focused on what's happening as football restarts. So we've got some nice little segments that we're going to include about what's coming up over the coming weekend. But obviously we're not quite there yet because football hasn't started. So we're going to keep this change in format. We're going to drop the normal segments from a Friday episode. So we won't be doing the wall of hate. We won't be doing the quiz type question. And we won't be doing the feedback. but we're going to focus on a particular topic for the next couple of weeks. And then hopefully it'll be very much focused on what's going on with the Premier League and hopefully see Liverpool win the league very, very quickly.
I'm dreading that episode after they've won the league. I'm just letting you know now.
Why? I'm so excited, Darren. I'm so excited. It's coming home. It's coming.
Hang on. Why are you singing an England song?
Because the Premiership's coming home.
Do you know what? So the comment is going to be from anyone who doesn't support Liverpool. It's never been there before. So how's it coming home?
It's been there. It hasn't always been called the Premiership, has it?
Good point.
In the Premiership years, yes, it has.
Yeah, it's only ever been called the Premiership. All right. So what we decided to do today is again something that we've been throwing around for the last couple of weeks. And we're going to space it over 2 weeks because we think we want to get into a bit of detail in the conversation. And we're going to build the ultimate player. So we're going to start with the ultimate goalkeeper and ultimate defender today. And then we're going to progress to the ultimate midfielder and ultimate attacker next week. So today we're going to focus on goalkeeper to start. And it's going to be a bit of fun because we've got loads of different options. And what we're going to do is we're going to define 5 attributes for each. And then we're going to have a discussion about who we think should be the goalkeeper that meets that attribute or the best goalkeeper for that attribute. And we're going to have to agree on it, which is going to be fun.
Can we just point out that we struggle to agree on the attributes for the goalkeeper and the defenders? So that was an hour or two conversation we had.
So we could be here for a while then.
What I'm saying is, we could be camping out on the podcast for the next couple of days.
All right, and then while we're on it, little bit of merch going on here.
I'll have a drink. Anyone want a drink?
Oh, nice. Not that we're selling any of it, but Thomas managed to get us some cups made up. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. Do great.
Okay, so let's dive in to the ultimate goalkeeper. And I'll just very quickly walk through the attributes. They are bravery, handling, distribution, one-on-one, and shot stopping. We thought those are the 5 main attributes for the great goalkeeper. And we're going to take one at a time and have a discussion about each one of them. So we'll kick it off with bravery. Daz, do you want to get us going on bravery? Who do you think is a goalkeeper that has got that attribute nailed?
I think bravery is always a tough one because you have to be brave to be a goalkeeper or stupid. I'm not sure which one. But I do think the game's changed as well. And I think back in the 60s, 70s, goalkeepers used to just get launched by every centre forward everywhere and used to get kicked. And I think the game has changed. But I'm going to throw 2 goalkeepers I think are brave into the mix. And of course, there's many you could choose from. The first one I want to bring up is Oliver Kahn from Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
He was built like a heavyweight boxer. He was, his attributes as a goalkeeper are unquestionable. He World Cup for Germany, and he was just one of those keepers, I think, who just got down, put himself in a position where he was going to get kicked, and actually he didn't really care.
Yeah. Keeper.
Yeah, and another one I want to throw in, and this is going back to probably a bygone era, is Gordon Banks.
Yeah, I had him in my list. What a keeper he was.
Yeah, and the reason for Gordon Banks is not only have I met him and scored past him, but let's move on from that. I think he was 98 or something when I scored. And he actually played this last couple of years. He had a car crash and played with a glass eye, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And really? he still carried on playing. And I think he was from an era where he did get pushed and punched and kicked. Yeah. And you didn't have the protective gloves you have these days. And you had to be brave to actually get down to some of these attackers' feet. And so for me, those 2 are the standout ones for bravery.
Okay, Tommy, who else have you got on your list for bravery?
I've got 2. Well, I've got 3 on my list, but I've got one in particular that I think should be up there as a favourite for it, and that's Petr Cech. I've got Petr Cech on my list. We talk about getting in where it hurts and stuff, and we can all remember that really bad injury that he got playing against Reading, and Stephen Hunt went in for he slid on at Stephen Hunt's feet and got kneed in the head, and ended up with a depressed fracture of his skull. And I can only imagine what would happen to a player and how nervous you'd be having to get back into football and have to dive in at people's feet, thinking how serious and how life-threatening that injury was. And, you know, he come back with that stupid hat on. We all know that. But for what the injury that he went through and to still come back and be as, you know, he wasn't as good as he was before he got injured, but he was still up there with the best around.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Petr Cech definitely for me is up there, Bravery. And my second one is just for the comedy factor. And I've got Rennie Higuita in there. Now, I've got him in there, not because of the scorpion kick that he did, which would have been hilarious if he'd have missed it and Jamie Andrews would have scored that goal at Wembley. But he was brave because he'd go up the other end of the field and take free kicks.
Yeah.
In fact, he was absolutely nuts. I watched the video of him this morning where he would dive in at a player's feet. He'd tip the ball just past the player, jump up, sprint 50 yards to the halfway line, going past everybody, and then either lose control or buy himself a foul or knock it forward. He was absolutely brilliant. But the reason why I think he was so brave was because he was playing for Colombia and he did all his crazy antics. And if it would have lost him a game, he had the chance of getting shot by the cartel. Yeah. I mean, a number of Colombian players were killed. So he definitely has to go on there as a bravery.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that one.
So
he was mad. He was absolutely crazy. Another one who I had in my list was Chilavert, the Paraguayan keeper, who used to do the same. He used to take free kicks, but he was also a bit crazy. Like, he wanted the ball on the floor all the time, and he was just a little bit mad. He was a good one. The other couple that I've got in mind is Lev Yashin, who was an outstanding goalkeeper. A bit before our time, but all the stories you hear is that he was very brave. He was a great goalkeeper. His handling was fantastic. Just good as an all-round keeper. And then I've got Clements and Schmeichel as well. I think Clements, for English fans, great goalkeeper. We've had some stick over the last week or two because he didn't get in our England 11. But he was a great keeper. And also, he was from an era, like you described before, Daz, where you were getting a kicking from centre forwards. So I think he has to go in there. And then in the modern game, I think Schmeichel and Petr Cech are probably the best examples that we've seen. Schmeichel went in where it hurt all the time, got injured on a regular basis, but always played. So I think we've got a really good list. Any that you think stand out from that could be the one?
I think it's a difficult choice. I think bravery is the hardest one to pick because I think they all are brave. I think Thomas put forward a very good suggestion for Petr Cech, to be fair, and he was one that I did look at. And I think coming back after the injury he had, I would, best of my judgment, I would go with Thomas on Petr Cech there. I would agree with him to that point.
How funny is it that Thomas is the person that is picking the right goalkeeper?
I think he likes Petr Cech playing out.
So I would go with the same. He was on my list as well. I had a list of 5 and he was on there. And I thought the same thing, Thomas, the way he come back from that injury and how much he must have worried when he first come back. It tells you all you need to know about him. And in the modern game, he's right up there. So we're locking in Petr Cech for bravery?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah.
Okay.
But also, I just wanted to say, goalies, bravery doesn't have to mean like they have to put the body on the line. Like, Schmeichel was very close to being my pick because you've got to be really brave to stay up for as long as you can and take that chance that they're not going to just roll it past you. And the longer you stay it up, we saved so many goals by being brave and being big and staying tall rather than going down and making it, a bit easier for. So bravery doesn't just mean, getting in where it hurts. It also means being cool and composed and taking a chance. Well, I'm going to stay there a bit longer and let you make the mistake rather than me go down early and give you the opportunity. So, I want to think of it like that as well.
To be fair, Petr Cech was great at that, along with others. Okay, let's move on to handling. So I'll kick off handling. And for me, the 2 that are top of my list are Southall and Alisson. Southall, because he was from an era where they held onto the ball a lot more. So if you think about modern goalkeepers, the strategy is that if the ball's coming at you or anywhere outside of an easy catch, you're punching it or you're knocking it away in some way. And I think what's happened is that's caused more problems for defenders. Southall was from an era where it was much more natural to catch the ball. I remember him making a save from John Barnes in a derby where he held onto the ball, diving off to his left. And you think in the modern game that just wouldn't have happened. He'd have knocked that wide. He'd have knocked that out to a centre forward. Brilliant goalkeeper. And Alisson, just because in the modern game, I feel like he's better at holding onto the ball than most. And I think what you find is, again, he's not punching as much as the others are. Certainly it's part of his game, but I think he holds the ball more than most in the modern game.
I agree with the Alisson. What I noticed, especially this season when he come back from injury, Liverpool, even though they've been so dominant and so they're playing so well, they're actually conceding quite a lot of shots. I think they're right up there percentage-wise as conceding the most shots on goal in the whole league, or they're right up there at the very top. And nothing seems to spill off him. He takes it, he drags it in. Stuff that you think, how's he got hold of that? And it just sticks. He's absolutely superb. I've got one when I was doing my research, and I'd never really thought about it. And I know he's such a good goalie. Buffon. Yeah. Being voted as not the best as outstanding ability goalkeeper, but he's the most consistent goalkeeper of the modern era on a couple of websites that I looked at. They're saying all his skills aren't the best, so you couldn't pick something out and say he's the best in the world at that. But consistency-wise, he's been the best and played for 20 full seasons in goal, in the top tiers. So some player, and his handling has always been brilliant.
Yeah, that's who have you got?
Yeah, it's well, everyone knows on the podcast my love for Neville Southall, and I want to move on from the Alisson love fest we've got going on here. So, agree with you, Simon, in many ways about Southall. I think he was just amazing, and it was an era where you would hold on to the ball more. Just to throw an extra person in there, Pat Jennings. Yeah. And Pat Jennings again came from an era where if you spilt the ball or pushed the ball, it was seen as a weakness. And the coaching at the time was all about keeping hold of the ball, get it into your body, protect yourself. And Pat Jennings had hands like shovels. He was huge, which obviously helped him with the catching the football. So Pat Jennings was one that I thought his handling was just superb. And again, I'm going to go back to, Shilton in his heyday. In the 70s, Peter Shilton, I actually read something about Peter Shilton was to go to another club, a top club, at the time, like a United or something, in the 70s and 80s before he went to sign for Forest or something, and something didn't quite work out for some reason. And did you know, I also found out that Ferguson came in for Southall at one point. Yeah, and then he ended up getting Schmeichel. Oh. So I think it was at the time when Southall was having a bit of difficulty at Everton because of changing managers and things. Yeah. But, like every good team, you need that goalkeeper you can trust and rely on. You just touched on Buffon, Thomas, about reliability, consistency. Yeah. The three that I certainly spoke about is from an era where catching was something that you did. Yeah. And I think goalkeeping's changed now, so they don't do it as much.
I think you're right. And I think that for that reason, for me, it has to be Schmeichel. Southall.
Yeah, we shouldn't drink of a morning, Simon.
At least I've only got vodka in that cup. Yeah, I'd go for Southall.
Thomas?
To be honest, I didn't see a lot of him playing. I've got a feeling you're going to go for Southall also, so I'll just see. I really was going to go for Petr Cech again. I think he's been outstanding since he comes to the Premiership.
Yeah, but I think if
Handling's been absolutely outstanding. I think I haven't seen a better goalie that catches the ball better than him.
But you're restricting it to those Premiership years, where there's the.
I understand that, yeah. I understand, but you go
for 10 and more years. Southall was one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and one of the things that stood out, and I think it's more about the game and how he played the game, was his handling. His handling was so good that he helped make that team the team that it was. So I would go for Southall.
All right, well, I'll
Daz?
tick that box as well.
I'm going to go for Southall every day.
Okay, so Southall gets in the list. Leon will be happy because...
I might get a strongly worded email to our website.
Might do, yeah. We're going to get complaints. Okay, next on the list is distribution. Tom, do you want to kick this one off?
Well, there's three for me. Well, four. I've got four on my list that they're outstanding. I'm going to go starting first. Neuer, Bayern Munich. He was the first sort of sweeper keeper that I seen about. Just great knocking the ball into him. He gets involved in the build-up. He's just absolutely superb. So Neuer first for me.
Okay, Daz?
I had Neuer on my list, but I want to also give a shout to Reina for Liverpool. I think Reina was superb at his distribution, not just his footwork distribution, but also the throwing. He could throw like halfway line, and the accuracy I'd never seen like that from a goalkeeper before. So I would always pump for Reina with that.
So the reason I'm smiling is because Darren talks about Reina almost as much as he talks about Southall. And it's Reina's being brought up by the one person who is a Liverpool fan, which is brilliant.
He played for Villa, though. He played for Villa this season, so I'm allowed to bring him up.
Okay, so I'll throw one in from left field. What about Victor Valdez? So if you think about the time when Barca were they're an amazing team now, but where they were really dominating Europe, Victor Valdez played like a sweeper.
Yeah.
So if you remember, what they started doing was they started splitting the centre halves, and then Valdez would be the person who was dictating what was happening with the ball from the back, and they used that really, really well. And I think his distribution at that stage picked up massively, and he got very involved in the game.
Well, was that under Pep, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you can see Pep's sort of almost influenced when he came to City, what he did to Joe Hart, and almost like, he can't be that goalkeeper I want. He might be a great shot stopper, but actually, I want more than that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he went out and got who we got. Edison, was it?
Yeah. Edison.
Well, he brought the other guy in first, didn't he? I forgot his name now. Who'd been his goalkeeper at Barca for a number of years and done a great job, but he just didn't live up to the hype when he comes to the Premiership. And then Edison come in, and Edison's been absolutely outstanding.
Well, you see, that's the other one, isn't it? I mean, Edison is if you think about the modern game right now, Edison and Alisson, I think, stand out from the competition in terms of distribution. I mean, think about Alisson's pass to Mo Salah over the top. That famous pass where he goes and celebrates with him.
The one where he just whacked it upfield.
Well, I mean, you say whack it upfield, we say picked out the pass to Mo Salah. But yeah, you've got him, you've got Edison. Edison is brilliant on the floor. I think those two in the modern game for me are better than the rest.
I think as well as when they come to the Premiership, it's a quicker game, so they have to be that much more better for me. And when you go abroad, the game's generally much more slower and it's a slower build-up. But the Premier League, when you've got people like Vardy running down at you, the goalkeepers have to make those quick decisions. They have to be good with their feet. Yeah.
Okay. So is anyone got anyone else who they think could be number one, or are we going to pick from that list?
That's my list done. You got the four there that I'd pick.
Okay. So who do you think is number one, Tom?
Alisson. He's outstanding.
Okay.
I think he's better than Edison. Reina was brilliant, and Darren was right. The kicking out of his hands for Reina was out of this world. Neuer is a little bit different. He's better. He's good with his feet and dictates play, like a sweeper sort of player. But Alisson for me, definitely.
Okay, Darren, you going with Alisson?
No, Reina. I think Alisson's very good, but I just think Alisson, he's made one or two mistakes being overconfident, and I just think that just doesn't quite get him to where I want him to be.
So I think you're forgetting about some of the things that Reina did, but that's a long time.
I don't care. He's my choice.
Okay, so I'm actually going to go with Alisson. So I think we land on Alisson. I think Reina was great. He was amazing at Liverpool. Loved him as a keeper, but I do think Alisson has stepped that up, and again gets more involved in the game a bit more than Reina did. So for me, it's Alisson. And if people haven't noticed, we're playing buzzword bingo, and every time we say, for me, someone should buzz something, so we stop saying it. So we're locking Alisson in for distribution.
That would be brilliant, that we play buzzword bingo. I love that idea. Never spoke about that in the production meeting.
Yeah, but Darren, it's your fault. You're the person who brought on for me, and then we've all seemed to pick it up. We're all saying it all the time. We need to stop. Okay, so next on the list, next attribute is one-on-ones. This is a brilliant one because everyone deals with one-on-ones in a different way, and you've got different strategies from different keepers. So, Daz, do you want to kick us off here?
Yeah, no problem. So the first, for me, my number one is always going to be Petr Schmeichel.
Buzz.
I'd like to say I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
So Petr Schmeichel revolutionised goalkeeping, and in the 90s when he came through, as Thomas alluded to earlier, he stood up longer. He made himself bigger. He did the sort of starfish impression, which was, as a goalkeeper, you played sight and goal, is that you almost didn't do that because you couldn't spring anywhere. You came out and you made yourself a little bit small, and then you exploded. I think Schmeichel changed the way goalkeepers faced up to strikers, and for me, that's the reason why he should be our offering for the one-to-ones.
Got it. Thomas?
I'm going for Liverpool's current goalkeeper, Alisson.
You can't just name Alisson for everything.
I can't. Well, I've got a couple on my list, but
You've only done him in Cech.
No, I've got quite a few here. Don't worry. I watched him again the last couple of years, and what he does is he waits, and then he waits for the striker to make that type of move to try and go round them or take the shot, and his reactions are lightning. I haven't seen a goalie with such quick reactions as him, and he does so well on one-on-one situations. So I'm picking him.
Yeah, okay. So the one that I had was Dino Zoff. So again, almost before our time to a certain extent. We've seen a bit of him, seen videos of him. But he was from an era where going in where it hurts actually really hurt. So the goalkeepers weren't protected as much. And from what I'm told from people like my dad, Billy Birch and others, Dino Zoff was a great keeper. And I think he has to go on the list somewhere. I got another left field one, which you might not have thought of. What about Van der Sar?
I've got Van der Sar down on my list. I only had two, and they were both United goalkeepers.
Yeah. He was brilliant. I think Van der Sar, in a one-on-one situation, because he was so big as well, I think he just put players off. You know, you heard players talk about the fact that they'll step up to take a free kick or they'll step up to take a penalty, and all of a sudden it just feels like the goalkeeper is filling the space. Well, he was absolutely massive. So imagine him running out at you. That would close the space pretty quickly, and he was really good at it.
And I think from when he went to Fulham, to United, his game just upped so much. I think at Fulham, he was a good goalkeeper. I think United, he became a great goalkeeper.
He did, yeah. Yeah, he was good. Any other anyone else to throw in?
I just had those two on my list for that one-to-ones.
So I've got one, and I hate to add to the Liverpool love fest, but I would definitely put Southall in on the one-on-ones as well. But I would also put Grobbelaar in. Again, I seen much more of him growing up, but he was brilliant in a one-on-one situation. He was also good in other areas, but he was great in a one-on-one situation. I don't think he's good as the others, but definitely Southall and Grobbelaar should get a mention. So I think the choices come down to Alisson, Schmeichel, and probably Van der Sar. So Daz, who are you going with?
It's got to be Schmeichel all day. And anyone who disagrees is wrong.
Thomas?
No, I'm not going to disagree. I was just throwing Alisson out there because I think he's really good. It's definitely Schmeichel for me. He'd been my number one pick.
Buzz? Yes, I'm going with what you said for me, Thomas. I'm saying Schmeichel. I think Schmeichel is definitely head and shoulders above the rest. Alisson's great now, but Schmeichel was the person who changed the way you dealt with a one-on-one situation. And it definitely was in that transition from the old game to the new game as well. So we're going to lock in Schmeichel. Okay. Last attribute for goalkeeper is shot stopping. And I love this one because it can be all sorts of different scenarios. It can be free kicks. It can be penalties. It can be shot stopping from the edge of the area up close. And there's been so many really good examples of this right throughout the time that we've watched football. And I'm going to throw out Buffon for this because I thought Buffon was brilliant at shot stopping. Again, all-round game was fantastic and probably one of the best goalkeepers of our era, but particularly good at shot stopping as well. Have you got that?
Yeah, well, of course, Buffon is right up there. I'm I'm going to bring someone in from the modern game, which is unusual for me. Is it Jan Black from Atletico Madrid?
Oh, yeah.
He's on my list, Aaron.
Yeah, he's something like, since 2014, 80% saves percentage, 80%, 99 clean sheets in 180 league appearances, and he saved 431 out of 537 shots. I mean, that's just remarkable.
Yeah,
I think he's almost like one of the top modern day goalkeepers. And going from modern day to more old school, Simon, Walter Zenga.
Yeah, great keeper.
I've heard about Walter Zenga was superb on his line. Absolutely top draw. Anything else he wasn't particularly strong at.
Yeah.
But on his line, and it was a shot stop, and he was right up there.
Yeah. Thomas, who else you got?
I've got a couple. I'm going to stay old school first off. I've got Gordon Banks. Obviously, he got voted the greatest save of all time. That save from Pelé in the 1970 World Cup, which was out of this world. And I've also got someone that we probably know a bit better, Casillas.
Yeah.
Absolutely superb goalie. Great shot stopper.
So Casillas was on my list as well. I'll just throw in a couple that we didn't have listed. Peter Shilton was one who was a great shot stopper. Again, I don't think he wins this, but he was up there. Van der Sar, Clements, Hugo Lloris as well. I think has made some amazing saves. Great keeper. And then De Gea.
I've got him. He's on my list, De Gea.
Yeah, I think in recent years, you think about, he went through a couple of years when he was the best goalkeeper, from my perspective, the best goalkeeper in the world. At that stage, he was brilliant. And his shot stopping was outstanding. It was probably the best part of his game. And he was great all round, but I think that one stood out for me. And then you can throw out all the other ones that we've talked about, like Southall and Alisson, etc. A couple that we haven't mentioned that I had in my other lists was Fabian Barthez. Again, he was prone to a mistake, but in terms of his ability, you heard the United players talk about how good he was, and the French players talk about how great he was for the French national side as well. And then the only other one I had was Desaev. You know, he's one of my favourites. Him and Southall, I think, were vying for best goalkeeper in the world. I think the thing that Desaev had was he was absolutely massive, and he was just good all round. I don't think he wins any one of these, but if you're looking at an all-round goalkeeper, he was fantastic. So from a shot-stopping perspective, anyone else that you want to throw in there?
No, I think we've all. I'm going to say for me then, and get buzzed out. I think we've all covered the top ones who we consider. Yeah. I think the issue is deciding who, because this is one of the most important things for the goalkeeper, and they can all do it. But I think the difference is the consistency they all do it at.
I agree.
I think they're all right up there. Goalkeepers make world-class saves all the time, but consistently, it's a difficult one.
It is, yeah. Okay, so I'll kick us off. I am going to go with, and I think it's close between him and De Gea, I'm going to go with Gordon Banks. And mainly because we've seen some great saves. That is just unbelievable, the save that he made against Pelé. And you can't oversell it as well. We've seen keepers make great saves at Liverpool as well. You remember that save from, who was it who played up front for United, the header? And Grobbelaar pushed it over the bar. Similar kind of save. And then you've seen the one in the European Cup final as well in 2005.
Oh,
he's amazing. Dijk, what a save. Obviously doesn't get anywhere near our list because he was prone to a mistake. But
yeah, I'd have to go with how many Liverpool players we're going to allow in each session.
I'd go with Gordon Banks.
So for me, it's between two. I've only ever seen the one save off Gordon Banks, so I've got no idea. Currently, I think the best shot stopper out there is Jan Black. And consistently, over the last 20 years, I think the best goalkeeper has been Buffon. So I'm going to go for Buffon.
Right. Daz?
I'm torn between those two, Thomas, myself. The modern game, Black, or whatever his name is, I can't remember. My memory's going. But I think for consistency over years, I think Buffon has to get it.
Yeah, so I'd go with that. I'd go with Buffon. I think he's done a great job, and you know he's been at the top of the game for a long time. So I think putting him in makes sense. So Buffon is getting locked in for shot stopping. So here's where we end up in terms of our ultimate goalkeeper. For bravery, we have Petr Cech. Great choice. Handling, we have Neville Southall. Darren's mate. Distribution, we have Alisson, because he plays for Liverpool.
And he's brilliant.
One-on-one, we have Schmeichel. And shot stop him, we have Buffon.
Just a quick question, lads. How much is this going to cost for this goalkeeper? Because it's a few bob there.
Imagine that in the transfer market now. Yeah, brilliant. I think that makes up a really good goalkeeper, and we'll put it up on the website and on the Facebook page as well, so people can give us their opinion, because they like to tell us we're wrong, which is always fun. Okay, so now we move on to defenders. Obviously, Darren's going to get a little bit excited here, Tom, so we have to be careful.
Yeah.
This is the best segment we've put on since we started doing this podcast. A proper section about defending.
You know, I really struggled with this because there's so many.
Yeah.
And in some, you've got more options than others, but there are so many. And we haven't limited this to, you know, a particular position. We're just saying defenders. So it's anyone that plays anywhere across the back. So again, we're going to kick this off with Bravery. And Daz, seeing as you are the bravest man I know, why don't you start it?
Living up to my hard man image off the field, and I'm not on the field. So I've gone for a typical English centre-half for Bravery. Just because when I was growing up, the image, seeing him on the telly with the red blood on the white shirt, was Terry Butcher.
Yeah, brilliant.
For Bravery, he was right up there. He put his head where it hurts. He would get clattered. He'd get up, he'd clatter them. But that image, I can't get out. And when you talk about Bravery...
The bandage around the head.
He got stitches in. He got some stitches. And then he carried on heading the ball. It just opened up again. And it was just blood everywhere.
But that was his game, wasn't it? I mean, it's really difficult to take that out of your game. So along the same lines, and I got reminded of this when I watched that Harry's Heroes, Mark Wright.
Yeah.
And he ended up with, again, same thing, had a cut over his eye, and he ended up with that massive patch on it. Started with the bandage on, ended up with the patch on, and carried on playing. And I think that happened relatively early on in the game. He played right the way through as well. Great player. I wouldn't say he's above Terry Butcher for me, but certainly a good example.
I'm gonna bring in someone that I absolutely love, and it's Jamie Carragher.
Yeah.
In the 2005 Champions League final, that poor man, he put his life through trauma. The amount of injuries he carried through that game and still hobbled on and tried to tackle. We had no subs left, and he carried on playing. He was absolutely outstanding. I know Gerrard gets a lot of plaudits for what he did in that game and dragging the result back from the depths of despair. But Carragher was an unsung hero. He was outstanding and played through some serious problems. So
yeah, if you watch his highlights of that game, some of the tackles he threw in were ridiculous. But the part that I loved was he was shot. His game was done. As you say, he's carrying a load of injuries. And then we win it. And he legs it down and jumps up in the air as if nothing's wrong with him. Brilliant.
I know, it's brilliant.
I do think, though, that the modern game's changed. I think we're talking about Bravery. These days, you get nudged and you fall over.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, 80s, when it was a more physical game, you had to be braver with some of the challenges, with some of the positions you put in your head.
Definitely.
I think now the foot goes three inches off the floor and they're blowing up. But, it's just the modern game's changed all the time. And I think with some of Bravery, I think we look at people like Terry Butcher and that era where they had to be braver. But I get your point about Carragher.
Well, we've got some classics as well. You've got, even in the modern game, you've got people like Vincent Kompany, who is a great defender. He's strong, he's brave, he puts his body in where it hurts. But I just don't think they stack up in the same way that a Terry Butcher or maybe even a Tony Adams.
And there's one left field, like a Steve Bruce.
Yeah.
For Bravery, Steve Bruce would put his head there, put a challenge in. But I get it, but I do think it has to come from that sort of 70s, 80s era.
Yeah, I'd go for Terry Butcher, definitely.
Thomas?
I don't know. I don't know, if I'm being honest. I think the likes of Giorgio Chiellini and Thiago Silva, in the speed of the way we play the modern era, the speed of the game, they bring the dark arts to defending, and you've got to be brave to put yourself out there each week by just being horrible and nasty and putting it in where it hurts, and the chance that you're going to get sent off. And
well, let's challenge that a little bit. So, do you think that that's brave? Because the reality is now there's cameras everywhere, VARs everywhere. You've got linesmen watching. You've got a load of people that are keeping an eye on what's going on in the game. Is that really brave? Because right now,
right now it's stupid. I agree. It's stupid now with VAR, but before VAR was introduced last year or the year before, you know, you wouldn't want to come up against Chiellini or Thiago Silva.
You wouldn't, but for different. Let me get to where I'm going. I don't think that's the case. So, in going back 25 years, if you got into a bit of trouble with someone, then someone was going to give you a smack.
Yeah.
Now, when was the last time you've seen someone throw a punch? That used to happen all the time. So people like Terry Butcher, he's had multiple smacks, I'm sure. You look at things like that old Leeds team, they used to fight every week. Yeah. I just think it's a difference here. I think if bravery is different now than it was before, and if you're assessing the modern game and bravery in the modern game, I think they're great examples. But if you're assessing them against anyone at any time, then it's really difficult to ignore someone playing on when they've cut the head open, or playing with tiny shin pads and getting someone going right through them and carrying on. I think that's where it's different. And I don't think it's their fault. That's just the way it is.
Simon, I just want to ask Thomas a question then. So, Sergio Ramos, he's brave.
Darren, that's... You know how much I love that man.
But what you've just said about the dark side of the game, he clearly does that all the time.
Yeah, and do you know if Sergio Ramos played for me, I'd probably love him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, so I can't stand him. That's that done.
Okay, so what I think you're going for here, Daz? The Terry Butcher or the moderns?
I think it's going to be Terry Butcher. Heart of a lion.
Thomas?
I'm going to stick with Carragher.
Okay, so I think Carragher is actually, in terms of our era, is right up there, but I think Butcher for me takes it. So we're gonna lock in Terry Butcher for bravery.
Excellent.
Next attribute is reading of the game, and Daz, given that this is probably your greatest skill, because
my only skill.
We don't want to talk about pace right now, but reading of the game, you can kick us off again.
There's two that I think were probably right up there as the best defenders ever, and part of that was reading of the game. The first one is a hero of mine, Bobby Moore. Yeah. I don't think I've seen a better defender reading the game, and he did it so simplistic. He was just a joy to watch at times, and I've not seen that much of him compared to older people. But when you look at some of the things he did playing for England in the '66 World Cup, and then West Ham, and even when he moved on to Fulham and he went to play in the States for a bit, you don't lose that. You don't lose it. Your pace may go, but your reading of the game, as I know, your reading of the game is crucial. And if you can do that, you make it look easy. I'd almost compare it to what Van Dijk does now, and I'm a massive Van Dijk fan. But I just think Bobby Moore was right up there, and he should be there. I also think a European footballer was Baresi. So yeah. Franco Baresi, the way he read the game and he marshalled the game and he controlled it from where he played the centre defence was outstanding. And similar to Moore, I don't think both of them were particularly blessed with. They had pace, but it wasn't lightning quick pace. And so the reading of the game becomes that much more beneficial if you can read a game than if you can just play the game. So I think for me, two of them I want to put in there was Bobby Moore and Franco Baresi.
Yeah, great choices. Thomas, who have you got?
I've got Ronald Koeman and Nesta from AC Milan. Certainly Koeman, when he was at Barcelona, playing that sweeper role, he was just he just ran the game. He was everywhere. You know, he'd just drop off, he could pass it, he could tackle. He wasn't blessed with pace. He just could read the game so well. He was just outstanding. Nesta was a more traditional bully Italian centre-half. Again, he was there wherever the ball went. It seemed to be attracted to his head. And you're thinking, bloody hell, why do they keep on kicking it to Nesta? It's not that. He's just reading the game that well, that he's always in the right position. Brilliant centre-halves.
Yeah, quality. All right, I'm going to throw two out who I watched a lot when I was growing up. First one being Kevin Ratcliffe.
Oh, yes.
Thought he was great for Everton. And again, he was part of that spine that made Everton a great team in the 80s. And then across the park is Alan Hansen. I think growing up, Alan Hansen was the best central defender that I'd seen. Ratcliffe, I think, was a close second, but Hansen was outstanding. That partnership with Mark Lawrenson was fantastic.
I think what Ratcliffe had over the people we spoke about was rapid pace.
Yeah.
Ratcliffe was quick. Hansen, slower. And so your reading of the game becomes much more important.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. Anyone else on your list?
I've got a couple here who read the Sammy Appiah read the game. I didn't have any pace at all. In fact, he looked like running in, mud.
Can we not have a go pace at the moment, Thomas?
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's not about reading the game. Sammy Appiah was just brilliant. What a great centre half. We wouldn't have gone on to win the trophies and the cups that we did without him playing for us. He was absolutely dominant. The only player I seen him struggle to go against was Duncan Ferguson. He always had a torrid time against Ferguson, but his reading of the game was superb. Always in the right position. And then the last one, he got World Player of the Year for a centre-half, was Fabio Cannavaro.
Yeah, he's in my list.
And he won the World Cup with Italy, didn't he? Just absolutely superb.
Yeah.
He wasn't the tallest of players. He had a great leap, but his reading of the game, he'd drop off where he needed to. He'd step up into midfield if it was required. He was just superb.
Yeah.
I actually think, Thomas, is that skill of reading the game, it can't be taught either. You either understand it or you don't. And quite often now defenders rely on pace, power to get into those positions. And that's why I think Van Dijk is the modern equivalent to a Baresi, to a Moore, those type of players where he just glides across the pitch and he's going to get there. He's going to do the job and he doesn't rush. Part of reading the game is being calm in situations and backing your own ability and making the striker think, or making the player think, I can't pass there because he's going to get across. It's that mindset of knowing your own ability. And I think in the modern game, I think there's too much power and pace. And if you look at some of the defending now, they're out of position, if you like, but they get back because they've got pace. And when that pace goes, I'm judging here, but their careers will sort of differ and they'll have to change the game. Where the players about reading the game we spoke about, you never lose that.
No,
you're
right. So I've got a few that I want to throw in that might not win it, but are definitely honourable mentions. John Terry, I think, again, I don't think he had as much ability as some of these other players, but did a massive amount with it. Franz Beckenbauer, can you talk about reading the game without talking about him? He's up there for me. Marcel Desailly, brilliant player. Lilian Thuram was another cracker. Laurent Blanc had hardly any pace, but was a fantastic world-class centre-half. And Fernando Hierro. Yeah. So played for Madrid for years. I think he ended up going to Bolton as well, but he was a great player.
And I think they are all in a similar category, but it's trying to define which one steps up.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I think it's difficult at the top, but Baresi probably stands out for me.
Thomas?
I had another two on my list that I don't think are going to win it, just to show that I'm not Liverpool rose-tinted glasses, is Yapstam and Vidic. The two of them, I don't think they're the best centre-halves that we've spoke about, but they were very, very good for United and they played in some dominant teams. For me, the best that I've seen, but not, is Van Dijk. It's Van Dijk. I haven't seen a better centre half. He's quick, reads the game. I know I'm more modern era, but he's the best. He's the best that I've seen.
You're trying to make yourself sound cool and up to date there, Thomas.
I'm not. I haven't watched that. I'm a lot younger than you. Remember that?
Here we go again.
Well, how many months is it? About 3? Only
years. It's years.
It looks like he's 15 years older. Daz, go on. Who are you going to go with?
I would love Bobby Moore to be in there, but I don't think you guys will vote. But I do think Baresi definitely is the next one.
Okay, so again, I think Van Dijk is outstanding, but similar to conversations we've had on other episodes, he's got a long way to go before I think he gets into this category. And if you think about consistency and doing it over years, Baresi is top of my list. So unfortunately, Thomas, for reading of the game, we go with Franco Baresi. Okay, next, here's one that Darren loves. So we're going to start off with Thomas. It's pace. So as a defender, especially in the modern game, as you just said, Daz, you need a lot of pace and power. So Thomas, who have you got for pace?
I've got a few here, but one that stood out for me that I used to love watching on a Sunday was Zanetti at Inter Milan.
Oh, yeah.
Quality Argentina, played fullback or he could play in midfield. His reading of the game was superb. His one-on-one ability, if he was trapped out wide with a tricky winger, he was just superb. Speed, he had tons of it. He was a great player.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, I'm going to go with Leighton Baines.
Oh, he's not quick.
I think in terms of his ability to get off the mark really quickly and get in front of a winger, I think he's one of the best fullbacks that we've seen in a while. Obviously, I don't think he stacks up to some of the newer fullbacks like Trent and Robbo, because obviously we love them. But I think he's done great for Everton. And I think a lot of his pace is in the first couple of yards. And I think he's great at getting in front of wingers.
Yeah, to be fair, you're probably right there. And I do have to say, your dad loves Leighton Baines.
Yeah.
He absolutely loves him. And for quality of putting balls in the box, you know, I'll take my hat off to him. He's a quality player. Yeah. I just didn't have him down as being quick.
Daz, who have you got?
No, I'd agree with you, Thomas, there. I think what he offers is stamina for going up and down the line rather than turn a pace. But I struggled with this, guys, as you probably recognise. So I did a bit of research and I've come up with two. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know an awful lot about them. But I will go for this first one. Jordi Alba.
Oh, yeah.
Good one.
It was exceptionally quick from a standing position. And I think, you know, he can get up and down, he can get back, he can get the cover on. His pace is lightning. So I had him down for pace. And another one, I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about him. It was Rafael Varane. He's played for Real Madrid, French centre-back.
Varane.
He's up and coming, but apparently for someone who's 6'3", he's lightning quick.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced I'm going to get a vote in this category.
He's got a really big stride, so he does cover ground really quickly. But I think if you think about players that we watch on a semi-regular basis, Kyle Walker's got to be up there, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen many people beat him in a race.
Yeah.
He seems to be able to cover ground really, really quickly. He's also good on the ball as well, which helps him. But he's one along with Trent as well. I think is fast.
Yeah, the other side of it was Chelsea's Ashley Cole. He was very quick.
Yeah,
at left back. I know he could match Ronaldo for speed, couldn't he? When he marked him that game for England, he was superb. I've got one from Italy again. Cafu.
Yeah.
Another really, really quick fullback. And then England's own. The only thing I knew about him was that he was really quick. I didn't know if he was any good. Was Des Walker. He was really quick centre-half.
Yeah, very quick as a centre-half, yeah.
Now, centre-halves are notable for their speed.
All right, guys. We decided you're not getting a vote. I've got one more for you. Philipp Lahm. Fullback for Germany.
Yeah.
Brilliant, really fast. Small fella.
Yeah.
Really good player. I don't think he gets up to the top of the list. And what about Rio Ferdinand?
Yeah, and again, I think what it is, we're talking about that electrifying pace from a standing position is really crucial. We're naming good footballers as well, and if we're looking at this one attribute for pace, then you just have to look at it for pace on its own. And I think Simon, your suggestion of Kyle Walker, he's lightning quick.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, are we going to lock in Walker?
We'll lock him in.
Okay.
I never thought I'd have him in a defender. God, he has pace.
Okay, so the next one, which I love, is probably one of the most important things you need as a centre-half, Daz. And fortunately, you have it in spades. Leadership.
Yeah, just that the spades are very small.
Yeah. All right, Daz, kick us off. Who have you got?
The one and only. It has to be Beckenbauer. He was called the Kaiser. You know, he played the way he should be played. He was dominant. He led by example as well as telling people what he needed to do. He won the World Cup with Germany as a player and as a manager. Shows some of his leadership skills. And for me, he's the only one we can put in. So end the conversation. Let's move on.
Okay, I'm gonna throw out in the modern game Vincent Kompany.
Yeah.
Great leader for that City team, given how successful they've been. And you see, you know, they did a documentary not so long ago, and he comes across so well. He definitely leads the line with the team, keeps them all pointed in the right direction, and is definitely the boss when it comes to the players.
The only problem there is he can only be a leader for like 2 games, then he's out for 3 months.
Yeah.
And he's a leader for another 2 games, and then he's out for 6 weeks.
All right, so who have you got, Tom?
Oh, I've got a massive list here. I've got my mate John Terry.
Yeah.
Absolute brilliant leader for Chelsea, even though I can't stand him. I've got another great Chelsea legend, Desai.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely superb. When he come over to Chelsea, you know, he was just dominant.
Yeah.
And you can see, I don't think I can't remember him being very vocal, but what I can see is looking that people followed him.
Yeah.
So when he went out there, the players alongside him thought, I'm playing with him. He's the boss. We're going to get out there and do what he says, and we're going to play for him.
Well,
and
he was stacked as well, wouldn't he? So you wouldn't argue with him.
Yeah, would you? No chance.
We were both gifted like that, Simon.
I'd rather fight Darren.
All right, so I've got one. What about Ronald Koeman?
I just don't like him.
I'm not a massive fan of him as a person. He didn't come across great as a manager, but in terms of the way he led that team, think about Barcelona during those years. He was the main man. He was the one who was taking free kicks, who was running the game, and he was a brilliant footballer as well.
Here's one then for you.
Let me jump in, Darren. I really like Koeman because he became Everton manager, didn't he? And then he got a Christmas tree and put red baubles on, and they all hated him.
So the only other person I thought could step up was Maldini. And Maldini wasn't like Beckenbauer in terms of vocally, but I think the respect there from other players, you're just touching it with Koeman. His fellow footballers we played with from Milan and for 20 years in Italy, they respected him so much they didn't want to let him down.
Yeah.
I think Maldini was absolutely class.
What about Puyol?
Yeah. I've got him in my list.
Barcelona.
Yeah. He's another one who's got a load of these attributes. But I think for leadership, he leads the lines. You see him. I remember seeing PK picking up I think it might have been a lighter that had been thrown at him, and he takes it off him and just throws it away and tells him to get on with it. I love that. That's what you need. So he definitely goes in the list.
And I think he's the type of person who leads off the field as well. I mean, I know recently Jordan Henderson, a couple of other Premier League captains have come off quite well by organising things. Puyol seems to do the same thing at Barcelona. He was there. This is what we do as a club. This is what we should do. And morally, that's what you need to happen.
Definitely. All right, Tom.
I think he'd definitely be someone that if you went down a back alley and needed to have a fight, you'd want him on your side.
Oh, definitely.
I'm just glad you said fight.
I've got a few that may not win it, but I just want notable mentions. Vidic and Stam at United, they both led their defences brilliantly. Chiellini at Juventus, he's been just out of this world, and he's one of my favourite centre-halves. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And then the last one is Cannavaro, another superb centre-half, brilliant leader. You know, not only led Juventus, but he also led Italy to the World Cup.
Yeah,
great leader, and he should be in the running, I think.
So I had all of them in my list. I also had Bobby Moore. You'll be happy to hear, Darren.
Love it.
And then I had Laurent Blanc and Fernando Hierro as well. All great leaders. Again, I don't think they quite win it, but they're all great leaders for the teams. So who are we landing on here? This is a big one, this.
This is going to take some negotiation here.
That's your starting.
It's Beckenbauer.
Okay. Thomas?
I'd have to go for Chiellini.
Okay. I'm going to go with Beckenbauer.
Good lad, Simon.
He was number one on my list. I think there's a few that are up the top there, but he's got to be number one. Again, you think of, like, he was in the stadium for the game the other week, and like the way people react to him and interact with him, he's still the boss now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd go with Beckenbauer. So we're locking Beckenbauer in for leadership. Okay, so the last one for a defender, last attribute is footballing ability. Now this is open to interpretation because everyone sees footballing ability in a different way. I'll kick us off with this one. And a person that has to be in there has got to be Franco Baresi. So we've actually talked about Baresi before. Great all-around defender in terms of footballing ability, right up there with the best.
I think at that time as well, Milan was such a dominant force across the league and Europe, and he had great players around him. The Hullet, Van Basten, Rijkaard. Was Rijkaard there as well? As well as my mate Maldini. They were all there, and they played a style. Baresi was class. I'm going to throw in one of the guys I actually thought was amazing growing up, was Alan Hansen. We spoke about him briefly. And Hansen was someone who you almost forgot at times he was a centre-half because of the way he played. And he used to step out of defence. I remember, it might have been in one game, I don't know if it was Derby or not. He gets the ball and he comes out of defence, beats a player or two, knocks him to rush, carries on his run. He gets it back and goes around the keeper and scores. Now, as a centre-half back in the 80s, you weren't meant to do that. Yeah. You were meant to get it and launch it 40, 50 yards to the big man up front. And the reason he played on the left-hand side of the defence, and the reason he did that, because he liked to cut in onto his right foot into the middle of the field. He didn't like to play it up down the line with his left foot. He was just a clever footballer, and one who I think, during my lifetime, my era, sort of the 80s growing up, was someone I just thought was amazing.
Great shout. Thomas, who have you got?
Very similar to Alan Hansen, but more recent to us, Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Yes. He probably watched videos of Alan Hansen. He wasn't quite as good as him, but he was a quality footballer. Quality. So I was surprised that he never actually stepped into midfield. He was that good on the ball. Yeah. He always had tons of time. His touch was superb. Yeah. But the fact that he had so much time, when he had so much pressure on him all the time, when he was, pressured by the forwards, it was just great. His passing ability was superb. Yeah, he's definitely got to go on the list and possibly got a chance of winning it.
Yeah, I'd agree. Darren just mentioned Maldini as well. I think Maldini is one that needs to be included. But Franz Beckenbauer again has to go in there. I mean, how good was he? He was brilliant on the ball. Talk about being able to step into midfield. He could have played anywhere in the park and he'd have been outstanding. He was absolutely brilliant.
What they talk about Beckenbauer being the first player to play that sweeper role and created that role where I think Lothar Matthäus played it years later, where you get the ball at the back, but you play midfield.
Yeah.
And you'd go and get involved. And I think he was the one who started it all off, these footballing centre-halves. And everyone's almost looked to him as the go-to sort of guy, if you like, coming through the ranks.
But it's funny, Daz, I love that sweeper position. I know you love it. I think it's a great position to play. But it's funny the way that has dropped out of the game. And I think playing it in the modern game almost doesn't work because of how high the better teams press. But also, so your defence would get compressed so far back that you're losing then your strength in midfield and you get overrun. But when we were growing up, the sweeper system was fantastic and everyone wanted to play that role.
But I also think, Si, that the tactics have changed in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know it's something we might look at in the next couple of weeks or whatever, but the formation has changed. Back when that was 4-4-2, and the Italians were noting for, they used to sit back and they used to just suck you in and then they defend and then get you on the counter. But Beckenbauer loved to join in, and when you watch Man City now, their two centre halves move away. Yeah. And the number 6 role, if you like, the holding midfield player, he plays that role where he dictates the play, the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Because I think it is high and wide all the time now.
Yeah, agreed. Who have you got, Daz? Who else?
I'm going to choose a modern day player, someone who I think is absolutely brilliant, someone who just graces the game really well. I've had my eye on him since Celtic, and it's Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk in the modern game, what I like about Van Dijk is that he doesn't rush, he's calm on the ball, he gets the ball off the goalkeeper and he can ping a 40, 50-yard pass with ease. He can strike a ball of free kicks. He gets involved when he wants to get involved, but he actually also is able to bring other players into it. And on the ball, he's great. So I think Van Dijk definitely needs to be looked at there as a modern day footballer.
I agree, and he almost looks like the best player on any park, doesn't he? You very rarely see that in a centre half. He looks like the best player in any game. He's had a couple of games this year. Like, I think they made a big deal about the fact that no player had gone past him for X amount of games, and then a player went past him, and they made a big deal of it. That tells you all you need to know, that people are actually tracking the fact that isn't happening. Players are not getting past him because he's generally the best player in the park. The only other one that I'd throw in, which again is a little bit left field, is Rijkaard. So Rijkaard could play centre half or central midfield. And sometimes he'd play in that holding role in midfield. Sometimes he'd play centre half. And he was a quality footballer. His footballing ability was fantastic, because I think he was more a midfielder than he was a centre half, but ended up playing it.
Yeah, because I think the Dutch system at the time, when the Dutch lads were coming through the system in the 70s, they all played different positions. And if you look at any Dutch player coming through, they're comfortable on the ball. And the reason is they appreciate what it's like in the tight positions, whether you're playing defence, midfielder or striker, and they understand each other's roles. And I don't think we do that enough in this country. You're very much pigeonholed at an early age. So I do think Rijkaard, class footballer. I wouldn't say he was a centre-half, but I get your point.
Yeah. Thomas, anyone else?
No, the only one that I don't think we touched on is Koeman, but we spoke about him before. He's very similar, isn't he, with the sweeper? He could quite happily step into midfield, which he did on a regular basis. Quality footballer. Yeah.
Okay, so are you going to go for Thomas?
I'm going to go for Van Dijk. Why change? He's the best centre half in the world. So done.
All right, Darren.
I'm going to do something probably I've not done on any other podcast. I'm actually going to go with Van Dijk, because I think potentially he could end up being one of the best in the world we've seen. I would prefer some like Baresi was class, but I think if we're talking now, and I've not really looked at the modern game in other areas we've looked at, I think Van Dijk's got to be right up there.
So I think I'm going to go with Van Dijk as well. And I'm cheating a little bit because I can see what we've picked in the other categories. And I'm telling you, this is some defender. So we're going to lock in Van Dijk for footballing ability. But let me just walk you through what we've picked as a building a defender. So for bravery, you've got Terry Butcher. Don't think there's anyone braver. For reading the game, you've got Franco Baresi, which I think is a great shout. For pace, we've got Kyle Walker. I haven't seen anyone faster than him on a field for a long time. For leadership, we've got Beckenbauer. And then for football and ability, we've got Virgil van Dijk. Again, you said before about the goalkeeper, Daz, how much would that cost? How much would that defender cost?
Well, I can tell you how much it costs. It costs you 80 million. Because that's how much they paid. Was it 80 million for Van Dijk or 60?
80 million.
80 million. So there you go. You just buy it because he's all of them rolled into one. He's as quick as Kyle Walker. He's just the.
Well, do you know what? You've killed your argument there. You could have said anything else. You could have said he's a great leader. You could have said he reads the game really well. You could have said he's brave.
He's got all
his pace.
Thomas, here's one for you. How much would have Beckenbauer been back in the day in the terms of modern day money?
He was about to flip and he bit, wasn't he?
Crazy, Maldini. You know, it's all relatively to now.
Of course it is.
And I get Van Dijk, and I absolutely love watching him. And I do some work with people on defending, and we look at Van Dijk and things like that. But I do think as a modern day footballer, Thomas, I'm going to have to agree with you. And it's just... I'm not sure I can come on any more podcasts, lads.
That's hard, isn't it?
Aaron, well in, mate. Well
okay, so that was good. I think we've come up with some decent ones there. So next week we will talk about the ultimate midfielder and the ultimate attacker, which again as complicated as the ultimate defender and ultimate goalkeeper. So we'll put them out on the Facebook site. We'll put them out on the website, and we'll also put them in the YouTube description as well, so people can give us their opinion. Keep the comments coming because they're going well. We really appreciate the feedback. So Daz, any final thoughts before we go?
I'm just looking forward to see what other people choose as their ultimate defender and goalkeeper. I think it'd be interesting to see how their own footballing allegiance to either Liverpool, Everton, United, City influences their choice.
Yeah. Thomas, final thoughts?
Just that I'm so excited. The football's nearly back. I don't care about nothing else. The football's nearly back. Come on.
All right. So yeah, that was a good episode. Really enjoyed that. For everyone who's listening, you can find us on loads of platforms now. We're actually now on more podcast platforms. So whatever your favorite podcast platform is, search for 3 Men in the Football. We should be there. If we're not, let us know and we'll make sure we get up there. And then obviously you can watch the video on YouTube and see us, again, make a fool of ourselves on a weekly basis. Really enjoying it. Give us some feedback. And also visit the website because we've just redone it over the last couple of days, and we now have a new website. It's at www.3meninthefootball.com. So thanks, lads. Have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hey, boys. Take care.